What up, guys? Today I got a message about a good question that every bigger, stronger person in jiu-jitsu will grapple with, pun intended, and it comes from Shane. He basically says that he's a white belt. He's been training for about a year and a half. Training's going great. He says that right now he wants to learn how to retrain himself to use less strength, less size and heaviness, and focus more on technique. He says his coach talked to him recently and said, listen, bro, if you want to get to that next level, you're going to have to use less size and strength. And then he also says when he rolls, a lot of times he subconsciously just falls back on his strength. And at some points, he realizes he's straining with his muscles, right? Size-wise, he's about 6'1", over 200 pounds, so he's a decent-sized guy. And so again, thank you for the question, Shane. So yeah, this happens for all of us in jiu-jitsu. I dealt with it as well. Let's get one thing out of the way, because I know a lot of times with jiu-jitsu, strength becomes a naughty word, right? You will use strength on some level no matter what. It's not a bad thing, and you have to understand that whether or not you're picking up a glass of water or you're picking up a 200-pound dude and suplexing him on his back, you're using some level of strength, right? This is why we could give a glass of water to a little small baby and they can't pick it up. They don't have the prerequisite strength to do it. What we want is not to not use strength, it's to use the minimal amount of strength at the right place, at the right time to get the maximum effect. That's what we want. We want efficiency with our strength. If we're gonna put out the energy, we wanna get that good return for it. So how do you develop that, right? So that's what I'll tell you about how to do in this video. Not to not use strength, but how to become more efficient with your use of it. So check it out. I think of it almost like meditation. What I'm gonna tell you to do in a second with your training, it reminds me of meditation. So I started meditating a long time ago, and if you guys have ever done it, we'll kick all the woo-woo stuff out of it, and we'll just talk about the most basic form of meditation where you breathe, right? You sit down, you close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out, and you just try to focus on the sensations in the air going in your nostrils and out through your mouth or out through your nostrils, whatever you're doing, you're just trying to focus on that sensation to clear your head for a second. Now, if any of you guys have ever meditated, then you know how this works. You will clear your head for a split second. You will focus on your breath for a split second. And then like the next second over, all of a sudden you're lost in thoughts about what you're going to eat for lunch, what koalas eat on the trees, and what the size, and you can go down the list, right? A million different things that we can think about. And our mind basically oscillates between those two. Now, the practice with meditation is not to really clear your mind, but to realize that you are thinking and your monkey mind's going wild, and to bring yourself back to this intentional way of being and to focus on your breath. And every time you do that, I think it was Dan here who said it's like a bicep curl for your brain, right? We're just bringing it back to the center. So with that said, with your rolling, when you want to learn how to use less strength, you're going to have to be very intentional with your rolling. We can't allow ourselves to just subconsciously, continuously get lost in these rounds where we're reacting to someone and just flexing and squeezing and everything else because we're just in a battle, right? We have to be very intentional. So here's what I did. I started, when I wanted to use less strength and figure out how to be more efficient with it, I started to pick out smaller training partners. And I did this because doing this, what I'm getting ready to tell you, is not going to be fun if you do this with Big Bubba. And Big Bubba's like 300 pounds and you fail and then he's smashing you and giving you the leche de padre face or mother's milk, whatever you want to call it, smother choke on top. It's a little bit easier when you get Bob, who's 150 pounds and he's just sitting on top of you. You can deal with that a little bit easier if you're a big guy, right? So here's what we do, or here's what I did. I started rolling with the smaller guys in my class, right? And two things I was focused on. Number one was I was trying to make sure I was mindful of if I was straining. So a lot of times when we're rolling, if you're just going and you're not thinking about it, you are using a ton of energy, ton of strength, right? But if you really tune into what's going on with your body when you're doing a move, you can start to feel how much strength you're using. So for instance, with my butterfly guard, I can sweep a 300-pound dude and it feels smooth. As long as my body positioning, my hand grips, everything's in place, I can sweep some big old fellas and it feels smooth and almost effortless. However, if I try to muscle a sweep against like a 130-pounder and my body's out of position, I will feel my body straining to make it happen. And so what it was is it was about trying to catch that straining feeling, very much like when you're meditating and you're trying to catch the monkey mind like wandering off in thought and bring yourself back to center. So when I would feel that straining happening, I would, back off. I'd let the sweep go. I'd let the escape go, whatever I was doing. And this meant that I got submitted, I got swept, I got my guard pass, whatever. I got beaten at times, but it was okay because I was getting better for the long game. Again, this is a long game thing. This is a practice. You're going to get worse for a minute because you're trying to do something new with your game. But again, it's for the long-term investment. You're basically preparing yourself for when you get older and you can't train as hard, or when you want to bring in anything new into your game because you're being very intentional with your rolling. Now, the second part that I had to be concerned about, and this may not be your problem, this is my problem, and I know this is a problem for a lot of people when they're rolling. It's very easy for our ego to get in the way and want to win every round. And like deep down, you know that you can make this happen if you just put a little bit more effort into it, but you have to let that go. And sometimes that's not easy. And for me, that was tough. And so whenever I would feel that ego sort of creeping up, basically tell me, let's go win. Let's win this scramble. Let's win this and really kick up the burners. I would back off. I would bring it back, just like the breath, right? Instead of reacting, I'm going to respond to this with intention in the way that I want to. And so that's really the way that I look at it. And that's what helped me out the most, was basically going into the rolls, rolling with smaller people, doing so in a way where, one, I was trying to not use strength and be very mindful of that. And I was also trying to be mindful of whether or not the ego was, getting some stuff going on up in my head that made me feel like I had to win that roll. Backing off from those two things, and it really helped me out big time. It's helping me out now as I'm getting older because I'm having to change the way that I roll a little bit. And that ability, that practice of being very intentional with your rolling has helped me do that. And that's helped me with a million different things. And so again, it doesn't have to be just for big, strong people type stuff, but very helpful for that. So anyway, I hope that helps you. Oh, by the way, one last thing I wanted to add in. Understand at the end of the day, when you have two really good people, like anytime you go against someone of similar skill, you are going to fall back on your strength and your attributes. There's no way around it. This is why you have the most technical people on earth rolling with each other, and they end up getting sweaty and they're exhausted afterwards. This is the thing that does the work, man. Again, a lot of times you'll see jiu-jitsu guys, they become like analytical nerds and stuff like that. And that's great. It's great to have that because you get a good understanding of the game. But at the end of the day, this is the vehicle that does the work. And so cardiovascular fitness, your strength, your speed, your athleticism, your flexibility, all of it works into this. And so again, when it comes down to it, when you start putting two evenly matched people against each other, they will begin reacting more instead of responding, and therefore they will use more strength and speed. And so again, hopefully that helps you out, Shane, and I'll talk to you guys next time.